Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Talk with TQ and the Energy Stoners Cafe. And as always, I bring the most amazing people that I can find on the planet. Well, I refound Ambika Devi. Ambika Devi, she's a master's in art. She's an author, speaker, astrologer, and educator, and with more than 4 decades of experience exploring yoga meditation, mythical, and holistic health. She is the author of 6 books, including Unfolding Happiness and Cupid is a Bastard. And today we are talking about her 7th book, which is why I reached out to her because I saw her on LinkedIn. It's her 7th book. It explores emotional intelligence through the wisdom of the Nava Rasas, the 9 emotions from yoga, told through sacred stories with food for the body, mind, and spirit. Welcome, Ambika. I'm so glad you made it. We made it. Here we are back together again. Congratulations on your 7th book.
Thank you.
Talk to me about how you came up with the title because you were using it, the words in a post or a few posts within your LinkedIn. I guess you call it the feed. Tell me
Right.
about this. Caught my
Okay.
attention.
So my second book is Unfolding Happiness,
Mm-hmm.
and that is an introduction to a sister science to yoga. Also, really, yoga, we could use that word as an over umbrella
Mm-hmm.
of yoga because yoga equals meditation. Ayurveda is for the physical world, everything from the body to your environment, to what you're eating, what you're taking in through sound and food and reading, and Jyotisha, which is the science of light, and that's astrology. So I wanted to write a sister book to it. And for years, I had curriculum that I wrote for a school of wizardry. You might remember we talked about that years ago.
Yes.
And I always wanted to take some of that curriculum and turn it into a book. I put a little bit of it into Unfolding Happiness, but I wanted to really expand on it. And every time I would sit down to write it, so this is years ago, we're probably a decade out from when that idea first got started, because Unfolding Happiness came out in 2016. So that is a decade ago. And I thought, and the other really interesting point about Unfolding Happiness is it's rated for 9-year-olds and up. So it's
Oh, wow.
perfectly acceptable information to share with a 9-year-old if they're interested. It's safe. There's nothing in it like Cupid is a bastard
Mm-hmm.
for 18 and up. Be
Mm-hmm.
Probably because of the B word in the title, but also some of the love poetry in there. So I wanted to expand on the idea, have a sister book. I had the curriculum. I would sit down and work on it. I thought I would call it Beholding Happiness for the next book, and I never loved the title. And then over the last 4 years, I noticed a shift in people I was addressing, particularly personal clients who I was coaching and counseling either in astrology or for corporate communication and emotional intelligence. And I noticed instead of people trying to biohack, which you know is also in my background with holistic health, I noticed people shifting from I can get by on 4 hours of sleep to suddenly using emotional words to label themselves, like avoidant, or that one was coming up way too much. And I started thinking, how could I take this body of information, this desire to write this next book, and how could I turn it into something that I could share with 9-year-olds and through really high thinkers in corporate America and make sense of it? I love mythology. That is part of astrology. Astrology is where mythology and astronomy come together. So I started playing with that idea and I felt like I kind of got stuck. So then in November of 2024, November is usually when I start asking through sitting down to meditate in the morning, what should I focus on for the next year? So this one morning I sat down to meditate and I was very, very clear. What should I focus on for 2025? And as I was coming out of meditation, which is usually when those ideas really come through, I heard this voice say, the book. And I thought, whoa, okay. I mean, it was so far on the back burner. I didn't even know where it was. So after I got up, I went to my computer, I started looking, and I found the file cabinet with all the info. And I thought, okay, I should have probably asked what should I do with what I'm supposed to do for next year. So the next morning I got very clever, sat down, said, okay, I found all the files for the book. Now, how should I address all of this? How can I turn this into the next book? And I got super clear when I came out of meditation that morning, to the point where I spent several hours organizing it all and realizing I wanted to bring storytelling into it. And I also decided to use the idea of Ganesha, the elephant-headed god or deity that is often seen not only in Hinduism, but all through the Far East, Buddhism, Jainism, even people that are non-religious. Children love Ganesha. He's chubby, he gives you sweets, he's got an elephant head and he's okay with it, you know? And I thought, and I have a room devoted to Ganesha. And so I thought, okay, great. So I had this hours, about 4 hours went by, and I'm playing with this stuff. And I thought, all right, I need to come up with a title because Beholding Happiness just isn't going to cut it. And I'd like to let go of that URL anyway. It just wasn't working for me. So I started playing around with titles and I came up with Mythic Alchemy. And I thought, okay, please let there be a URL available, right? Because I won't brand anything without a .com. So
Right.
I went and looked and I saw that somebody already owned it. And that somebody was me. I had it for 5 years.
You forgot?
Totally forgot.
Wow.
So that's the story.
That's an interesting story. You actually channeled yourself
Mhm.
and you got your own idea back. Hey, listen, you put it out there, it's out there, right?
It's
So tell
amazing.
the audience about Mythic Alchemy. Like, what is it?
Okay, so in the book, the beginning of the book, it's divided into two distinct parts with chapters. The beginning of the book is teaching and examining and defining energy through the Far Eastern lens, the lens of yoga, and particularly Advaita Vedanta, which is the path I speak from and also continue to study, where the bottom line of that is I am not this body, I am not the mind, I am the witness of the body and the mind. Now, that's deep. That's really deep. How can I talk to the inner child or the person who says, I don't believe in it, to make it something palatable, digestible, something you want to bite into and taste? And so I describe through the senses and then a little bit on the chakra system, and then a little bit about energy, a little bit about cosmology. And then the whole second half of the book, what I did was I took myths for each of the Nava Rasa. I had decided to use the idea of the Nava Rasa, which translates into English, the nine emotions. Because remember back to what I said, I found people starting to label themselves by the emotions too much. I'm depressed. They're saying, I am that thing. I am depression. And I wanted to find more people who would say, I am joy. I am devotion. I am peace. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to take a story that is a myth story about Ganesha for each of the 9 emotions. And then I'm also going to give food because you have a copy of Cupid is a Bastard. You
Mm.
know, I like to give you something to eat, some tea recipes, and in that book I also gave aromatherapy. So in this book, I connected with one of my favorite aromatherapy providers of essential oils and got him to endorse the book. And also, I'm recommending single oils that he has in his incredible collection. He calls himself the essential oil wizard. We met when I was teaching at the School of Wizardry. He's not from the school, but I happened to interview him and also recommend him back then. So each chapter has a story about Ganesha in the second half. It has a lesson from the story that I'm explaining, 3 mantras, 3 ways to say Ganesha's name and connect with him as those particular names, because he has over 1,000 names,
Ooh.
relate to the story. And then I also am giving a yoga posture to try in some of the chapters, and more advanced yoga posture if you like. A recipe. It could be for tea. It could be for food, especially Ganesha loves food. So I gave some of his favorite recipes. And then also a journaling idea to focus on and a meditation idea to focus on. So I'm giving you food for thought, so for the mind, food
Mhm.
for body through these other aspects, and food for spirit.
Oh, wow. I find that very, very quite fascinating. But I just want to, digress a little bit.
Sure.
You're talking about 9 emotions. I always thought there were only 3 or 4,
I
but there
think
are
a
nine.
I think a lot of people do. So what I want you to understand is that the 9 emotions come from a yoga philosophy.
Hmm.
And when I first really got into them was through a book from one of the disciples of one of my favorite yoga teachers, Harish Johari. And I've used a lot of his books over the years. And then as I've been doing research for my PhD dissertation, I studied Carnatic music for a while, and I studied a particular style of temple dancing called
Ooh.
Bharatanatyam. And so in the book, and you know, I'm a visual artist, in the book, I actually dug up pictures of me portraying the 9 emotions as a dancer that will be used in the book in the chapters. And also, my dance teacher is mentioned in the book as an ally. And so, if you listen to traditional Indian music, either Ravi Shankar instrumental
Oh,
music or Carnatic singing, what you'll learn from it is a lot of those are geared to certain times of day. There's music that's better for digestion, but they do give you the emotions. And those 9 emotions are really important. And this is the order I'm giving them in the book, also with
okay.
stories
Thank
for
you.
each. So,
Okay.
Shringara is
Srigata.
yeah, is devotion. Now, in English, a lot of people call it love. But when I was talking to my professor about this, he didn't want me to use the word love for Shringara because he felt that that would lead people's minds into thinking about physical love. And so what we agreed upon was devotion, because truly, when we're devoted to someone or something we're in love with or love unconditionally, that is the essence of this emotion. And then we have hasya, and hasya is joy. Joy is my theme word of the year this year.
Asya.
Yeah, hasya. And then karuna, compassion. Raudra,
Karuna.
anger.
Karuna.
We all have anger, right? We get angry sometimes. And so Raudra is anger. And then Vira is courage.
Ira.
Bhayanaka is fear. We all can be in fear at some points, right? And then Bibhyasta, disgust. And then ab uh let me get this right. Adbhuta. And that's wonder, being amazed by things. And then finally, Shanta. Shanta, we probably recognize that word a little bit because it is where Shanti comes from. And Shanti means peace. So that's the order in
Oh,
which I'm
okay.
presenting these. And then I have a myth for each. For instance, in the anger, which might strike a why did you use that? There's a story about Ganesha getting angry at the moon because the moon started mocking him because he had a big meal and he fell off his mouse. He rides a mouse on one big toe. I mean, first of all, that's just comedy right there, right? A chubby, elephant headed being that has a humanoid body who can ride a mouse on a single big toe.
That's so
And
funny.
he fell off his mouse into a ditch because he was bouncing, bouncing, bouncing. And and then the moon laughed at him. So he got angry at the moon. So that explains anger in such a cute way
Yeah.
that we can explain it to a child and then also to our inner child so that we learn, hey, everybody gets angry. It's not about getting rid of your anger. It's about learning to deal with it because what happened in the story is the gods and goddesses realized Ganesh is really pissed at the moon and he cursed the moon and said, you can't ever shine again. And then everybody else said, wait a minute, we have to let the moon shine. It's a reflection of the sun, but we'll make a deal with you. And that's how we explain the phases of the moon.
Oh, okay. I never heard this explanation of the phases of the moon, but it's very interesting. I have to say it's something different. And so you embraced all of this.
Yes,
And so it's like all up in you, right?
yes,
Yeah. And so the book Mythic Alchemy, okay, does it explore these stories as well?
totally. This is
Yeah.
part two of the book. In part
Yeah,
two of
part
the book,
two.
now you know about if once you read the first half of the book,
Mm-hmm.
now you know, okay, there's all this energy involved.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second half of the book, I'm introducing each, and I do talk about the Navarasa in the beginning, right from the introduction.
Mm-hmm.
And a dear friend of mine, Troy Love, his name is actually Troy Love. That's his last name. He wrote the foreword, and he's a therapist. He's a counselor, and he loved the idea of explaining these emotions in this way because it brings joy into accepting that we all have these nine emotions. I think we can agree, Toni, that we all have a sense of love, devotion. We all experience joy, hopefully, compassion. We talk about this a lot, that we all get angry at points, that we all need to have courage, that sometimes we don't feel courageous, that we all experience fear. It could be from small things, but also big things in life, that we all can get disgusted, but we have to learn how to accept that we all should be aware of wonder and that we all finally should come to a place of peace with ourselves as we are and the world around us. So, the second half of the book, I am giving a story that relates to the particular rasa or emotion. And then I'm giving you ways to connect with Ganesha through his name. Also, a lesson from the story in case you didn't get it to the depth that I want you to get it. And then I'm giving you, as I said, yoga postures and ways to utilize these different emotions and stories. Food for thought, for food for body, food for mind, practices that you can use, yoga postures that will help you connect with and soothe if they're one of the challenging emotions, journaling exercise, and a focus for your own meditation, whether you're on a cushion, sitting meditating, or getting up off your cushion and walking through life.
You seem to have sort of extrapolated on a lot of simplicity of yoga. I mean, I practice yoga, but you've just opened it up and expanded it to something that's, I'd say, remarkable. As you were talking, I'm thinking to myself, wouldn't it be nice if this book was offered to us as a global collective? Because it sounds like something we need collectively. And I'm fascinated by the fact that you actually come up with these things and you're able to integrate all the different things that you've touched on. You touched a lot of things that most people have no idea about and put it into words. And it seems like you put it all into Mythic Alchemy.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to reading Mythic
Oh, I'm
Alchemy.
really super
It's
psyched
right
for
up
you to
my
read it.
alley. I'm going to
Yes.
Amazon right
I,
after this
oh,
this
it's not
interview.
there yet. It's actually, I just talked to you're the first one interviewing me only about the book.
Oh,
You have the exclusive right
oh, okay. I
now.
have the exclusive. Hey.
Yeah. So I just spoke with my layout artist.
Mm-hmm.
The writing is done, the editing is complete. I just spoke with my layout artist today. She said she should have her layout done by the end of the week, which means I can then do all of the legal things that we have to do when we write a book, and then order a sample copy, double check the layout, triple
Yes.
check the layout,
Mm-hmm.
and then. So I would say today, for those listening, is June 17th,
Mm-hmm.
2026. I would say this book most likely will be ready to be on Amazon. I'm the publisher, so I like to
Mm.
give it a little bit of breath. I would say
Yeah.
August of 2026 so that there's no pressure or fight on it. It is announced on my website.
Mm-hmm.
The cover is there. You can go see the cover today.
Yeah.
But as far as in your hands, I would say August. And here's what's interesting. In our Gregorian calendar, which is what we use in society, it's a little different than the moon calendar. And some years, Ganesha's birthday falls in August, sometimes in September. So I would wager a guess that the book will be available for purchase in August, but I will probably do the massive release in September for his birthday.
Oh, wow. A lot of people don't even know who he is, so they have to get the book and learn who he is, but they'll learn more about who you are. I'm just very impressed. I'm going to say impressed by the fact that you were able to take all these different elements of yourself, offer them up, and put everything together. You do a lot of thinking. You do, and you're talking about your dissertation, so you're getting a PhD. Am I correct? You're
Well,
working on a
I
PhD?
got my master's degree 13 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I immediately challenged my professor for a PhD because
Mm-hmm.
he
Oh.
broke off from that university and went back to India and started his own.
Mhm.
He had begun it here, and I helped him do some of the paperwork for Florida. But now he's back in Bangalore. Will I receive it from his university? Who knows? But I will complete the dissertation
Mm-hmm.
likely. Uh, but does it matter? I don't know. I spoke for a Mythic organization this last weekend, and I presented the paper that won me the green light to have the dissertation challenge, not the
Oh.
challenge accepted, but the paper. Because we went back and forth for the last dozen years over what should I write? What do I need to do to get this title? And he would give me writing assignments and I would begin or I wouldn't like them, and I would say no thank you even at the beginning, but I started several projects and then I finally challenged him with this paper that is called The Voice as Medicine. And that's what I just spoke about this last weekend. That's what I'm now challenging Mythic organizations. So who knows? Maybe I'll end up with a doctorate of spiritual studies from another school, or maybe I won't even bother and I'll just keep on writing books because I already have an idea for the next one and I love
Cool.
mythology. So who knows, Tony? I don't
I would
know.
love it if you kept writing books.
Oh,
But we
thank
must
you.
come back and talk about the book when it actually comes out and when I've actually
Absolutely.
read it,
I would love that. I would
because
absolutely love it.
speaks my language. I'm just
Awesome.
saying.
But so my hope for this book is that it gets in the hands of parents and children, that it gets in the hands of artists and people who love to take good care of themselves, for yogis everywhere from a beginner yoga student to yogis who own schools and teach teachers. I'd love to see it in their bookstores. I just feel that this book is so useful, especially the yogis who teach uh, any type of guided meditation or restorative classes, because they usually like to read stories
Yeah.
to their students while their
That's the
students.
guy. That's my yoga teacher.
Yeah, so this book is for all of these people. And I think it's a great gift for a yogi to give their yoga teacher, or
Mhm.
for a yoga teacher to give to their students. It's just something that's been bubbling in me for so many years. And that's when I sat down to really write the manuscript and say, this is it. It's going to be called Mythic Alchemy. It's going to have all of this stuff in it. It was really easy for me to map it out because it all kind of flooded in at once.
And it came together, and it's easy for you because you've written so many books.
True.
So on that note, I am going to just, tell the audience that when this book comes out, I'm going to read it and we are going to interview again because I'm excited about it. I
Ooh.
just saw you mention it on LinkedIn. I said, I have to talk to her about this one. You caught my attention,
You're
you
the
know?
first one who caught it, the first one to interview me just about this concept.
Wow. Yay. Yes. So we're going to do this again. Thank you, Ambika. Just tell the audience really quickly what your website is.
Absolutely. You can find me at ambikadevi.com, and I'll spell that for you.
Mhm.
Ambikadevi.com. There you can find how you can contact me if you have a question, my blog, where you can read articles that really were part of building up to this book from back as far as I would say 2011. And you can also find all of my books on my book page. My podcast has audio versions of some of my articles, and also guided meditations. And I have one on my desktop waiting for me to finish editing. It's a new
Oh,
one, which is a shamanic journey, a journey to find an object, find your energy teacher, and of course relax, because I love helping people relax and accept themselves as they are and the world around them.
we need it. We do. We need that. We're a very tense society, I find. There's a lot of tension. But anyway, I'm relaxed now because talking to you is always so relaxing. Not boring, but I find that my blood pressure goes down
Oh, so
somehow,
nice.
some way, but I'm definitely going to read your new book, Mythic Alchemy, as soon as it hits the news waves here. And
Toni, I
thank you
have a
so much.
feeling you will get a copy of it.
Oh, really? You have a feeling? Thank
We'll,
you.
we'll see. We'll see.
I'm so proud to have been the first person to interview you about it. Thank you so much, Ambika Devi.
Thank you for having me today, Toni. It is always a gift and a pleasure to be here with you.
Likewise with you. And I thank you so much. And I'm glad we did this.
Me
And on
too.
that note, I'm going to follow my director and say goodbye to the audience and thank them once again for coming to hear Talk with TQ and the Energy Stoners Cafe. And look forward and stay tuned to seeing Ambika on my show as soon as the book comes out because it's going to be deep. Okay. Have a good night. Bye bye.